Howdy folks, welcome to the first video in our series covering the forest roads and notch roads up here in New Hampshire. We're here starting at the Mead Conservation Center to ultimately cross over Sandwich Notch Road, which connects Sandwich, New Hampshire to Thornton, New Hampshire. It was originally built back in the early 1800s, I believe 1801 is when it was laid out. And we're going to use the Mead Conservation Center as the starting point and follow us along. Be able to tell you a little bit about the road on the way, and hopefully you enjoy coming along. If these are the types of videos that you like, please feel free to subscribe, ding the bell, all the fun stuff to be able to actually get updates when I have more of these, as I have a handful of these notch roads in New Hampshire, as well as more of these backcountry forest roads in New Hampshire to kind of go down. You'll see a lot of, at least here in New England, a lot of the off-roading that you do is actually all has to happen on private property. So a lot of these video series that I'll be doing will be covering a lot of the public access roads that actually exist out here. And they could exist anything from class 5 or class 6 roads to these notch roads that are maintained by the Forestry Service. And then if you're lucky enough to know some people who have some expanses of land with some trail systems through them, then you're more than welcome to hit them up and go through those trails as well. So a little bit about the Mead Conservation Center. So here where we started is one of the southernmost points of the White Mountain National Forest. It's the starting point for a good handful of trails. Coming out of here, I believe the Wentworth Trail, and as we jump onto Sandwich Notch Road now, love seeing signs that say no winter road maintenance in the winter. Alright, so here's Sandwich Notch Road. So as I was saying about the Mead Conservation Center, like I said, it's the southernmost entry to the White Mountain National Forest, and it's used as a trailhead for a handful of trails up through there. And I'll have more information in the comments or in the description of the video if you want to read a little bit more and you're into hiking. So back to Sandwich Notch Road though. We're just on the start of it here. It's an 8-mile road that connects Sandwich, New Hampshire to Thornton, New Hampshire. It was originally built, like I said, in the early 1800s as a shortcut from the Pemigewasset River Valley to over the Sandwich Mountains, so that you could get into the Lakes region on your way for farmers up in this area to actually get down to the Portsmouth region for trading and to actually sell all their goods at market. As you can tell, a lot of northern New Hampshire in the past was pockmarked with farms and logging companies. So a lot of like the main commerce, when you actually wanted to sell your stuff or the things that you couldn't make yourself, you actually had to bring it all the way back down to Portsmouth to actually trade and be able to actually bring your goods to market. So as you can see here, most of Sandwich Notch Road is like this. The grade is relatively kind. You can get through this road in most sorts of vehicles, although I definitely recommend having something with a little bit higher clearance. If you're coming down here with a Honda Civic or like a Volkswagen Passat, it might be a little more difficult. Like, sure, you can make it, but you definitely might have some rocks kick up or dings happen underneath your car. One of the only bad parts of a road like this is you'll be able to come across some cars every now and then, and it gets a little tight. So you just have to be kind and pull over, or have them pull over, and just continue on your way. So one cool thing or interesting thing about Sandwich Notch Road, at least on the Sandwich side, is the first, I don't know, I think it's the first mile, 3/4 of a mile into the road, it's actually not White Mountain National Forest Road. You'll see when we get up here, there's an actual sign that indicates the start of the White Mountain National Forest area. But as a result, you had a lot of landowners in the area who actually got together to actually buy the land that bridged the road or that bordered the road as you came in, and that way they could actually put it into some sort of conservation to help protect and make sure that nobody actually comes and builds down here, which is pretty cool. It's nice to see some people out there still trying to take care of the earth that we live on. So as you can see here, there's one of our first little steep inclines coming up. Definitely has some ruts coming out from rain or washout, but for the most part the road's in pretty good shape. And I usually don't have to go into four-wheel drive while I'm driving down something like this, but I actually don't mind using it just in case. I like having my front wheels be able to pull me up. So as I mentioned, here's that sign as we were talking about, which is the entering the White Mountain National Forest for the historic Sandwich Notch Road. And as I said, early 1800s, it looks like it was 1801 is when this road was originally designed and construction began. Speaking of construction, I can't imagine having to build something like this. Back in the 1800s, it was predominantly built with oxen and horse, of course, in addition to manpower. And I can only imagine how much of a pain in the butt it might have been to go up and down this road back before you actually had a lot more of this compacted gravel or like stone dust out here on the road to actually make it a little bit easier. As I was doing a little research about the road, they actually did, people would actually prefer to do it in the winter or ride over in the winter because of the fact that it would actually be a lot easier with the compacted snow than it was to actually go in throughout the rest of the year. So kind of funny that you'd actually have people that want to go over this in the winter, especially with the amount of snow that they probably got up here. Cool, and as I actually had mentioned the fact that a lot of farmers and families and stuff were up in this area, they use it as a shortcut to the seacoast. Speaking of families, there's about 30 to 40 families at the heyday of this road that were intermarked in between here. You had a bunch of different farms and places, and basically people were in here until the land gave out. And as you'll see as we get a little bit farther up here, there was one last remaining family that was a holdout, which was Moses Hall, and his farm still stands, and it's actually owned as a private residence now, and it's called, I believe, the Hall Farm or the Hall Residence, and you'll see that as we get a little bit further down the road as we come up. Interesting fact about the road as well is that it actually covers 2 notches and not just one. So it covers the first notch you get over, I believe, is the Sandwich Notch, is the notch in which the road bears its namesake. And then the second notch, which is a little higher, is going between I don't know what's the name of the mountain, Stone Mountain. I'll have more information in the description for y'all. And Mount Weetamoo, I believe is how you pronounce it. But again, I'm probably horrible at pronouncing these things, especially with a lot of the old Native American names that some of the mountains and rivers in the area have actually inherited. So. But as you can see here, it's a beautiful drive. Only 8 miles down the whole thing, and you can. As you can see, the bicyclists as we're coming up, people love to use it and traverse it, both for exercise as well as a trailhead, as there's a handful of different trails that actually will connect off through here. And that can actually bring you up into the Waterville Valley area or some of the other mountains in the area. I believe you can actually, via a couple of trails, make your way all the way up to Mount Chicora and come out on the Route 16 side of things. Spurs off of this road that you can go down. They end up dead ending, used predominantly for snowmobiles and things like that in the winter, as they dead end, like I said, into a gate. But we'll be going down one of those today, and that actually brings us out onto a nice little pond, which is a cool place to kind of stretch your legs. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get up there. And there's also another little pond up here called Upper Hall Pond, and we'll be going up down to that as well. And we'll let the dog get off and stretch our legs and do a bathroom break and all that fun stuff. But as you can see here, it's absolutely beautiful up here, being out in the woods, exploring. The only thing you're hearing is the gravel crunching beneath your tires. And being only 8 miles, it's a relatively short road, so a lot of times I'm actually up in the area, whether I'm camping over off a Tripoli road or driving down back from the mountains, I'll actually jump onto the road and take it over, because it's a nice little detour and kind of gets me my off-roading itch while I'm out in the middle of doing a bunch of highway driving, coming back from the North Country. So as you can see here, we're actually coming down from the first notch and starting our descent, and then a little ways ahead of us we'll actually start picking back up and heading back up the second notch. But before that, we'll be coming actually across Moses Hall's old farm and some of his fields. There is apparently pockmarked between a lot of all of this land is a bunch of foundations and basically holes in the ground that were the former houses, and you can actually find a lot of the remnants of all the old rock walls that served as the boundaries for a lot of the farms out here. As I had mentioned here's one of the trailheads. And our first spur that we're going to take, which will bring us up to a pond. This road is called Algonquin Road. Now, as you can see here, even though the road isn't too crazy from an off-road standpoint, really straightforward, you don't want to just fly by the seat of your pants coming down through here and with your pedal to the metal. You do still have to use a little bit of caution, whether it's trying to prevent kicking up rocks or losing traction and having something come out of nowhere on you. Especially if it's ever your first time driving down a road, you want to make sure that you're not that you're familiar with it. I'm a little bit more familiar with this area. I've driven up and down these roads a handful of times, so I'm able to take them a little bit faster because I kind of know what to expect. But if this is your first time ever going down these roads, I would definitely recommend that you take your time, patience, enjoy the beautiful scenery and everything that's around you, and you also don't want to bounce around your furry friend if you've got a dog with you. Another helpful tip that I like to mention, although you can't really see both my hands right now, is I usually like to always keep both my hands on the wheel, especially when you're going down an off-road trail, because you never know when you're going to hit a rock or catch something that's going to actually jolt the wheel and almost take it out of your hands, and it could, as a result, get you into a little bit of trouble and pull you actually off the road, and that's definitely the last thing that you want to do. Beautiful. And see, we come across somebody else who's also enjoying nature. Oh, looks like it's just starting to rain as well. Now we're going to step out, stretch our legs a little bit, take a quick little break, and we'll join you again as we pick up the trip. The view you can't get from the car. It's a cute little Alpine pond. Don't know if it's stocked, but I believe it's a cold water pond. Has trout and probably sunfish because they're everywhere. But it's a nice little place to stop, and if it wasn't raining, can go drown some worms and try to catch some fish. Huh? We'll pick back up in the vehicle on our way down the rest of Sandwich Notch Road. Alright, and we're back on our way. Be able to see now, especially that I don't have my sunglasses on, that my eyes are always scanning the road, right? Even if I have a familiarity with the area or that I've been down something before, you always want to just keep an eye out. Maybe there's something changed since the last time you were here. Maybe there's been a tree that's fallen around the corner that's sticking out that somebody didn't actually cut off all the way. There could be a variety of different things that happen in these backcountry woods that you really want to make sure that you're not putting yourself into, or your vehicle into, a situation where you could damage it, and then it makes being able to get out of wherever you are very, very difficult. Last thing you want to do is get broke down 5 miles back into the woods. Hell, never mind 50 miles back into the woods because you came across things a little too aggressively. Ooh, hawk. Also plan in future videos to actually get into a little bit more of the technical details around how you should approach different things, whether it be rocks in the road or logs, and how you can actually help yourself get over them, whether that's with a stock vehicle like I currently have right now, or once you've actually had upgrades and you're tackling a little bit more aggressive terrain. A lot of the concepts are still the same, so we'll cover a lot more of those details in one of my future videos, and and we can hopefully get some more upgrades here on Lefty and be able to find some new and hopefully rarely explored areas of New England. Straight ahead is actually that other spur I was talking about, that dead ends at a gate for snowmobiles. That's the other side of Algonquin Road. Speaking of Lefty, because I've mentioned her name, but I haven't actually given you any context for that. So Lefty is the nickname for my 2019 Toyota 4Runner. I have the Off-Road Premium Edition. There was a couple of things that kind of went into my decision to get the Off-Road Premium versus the Pro versus an SR5. Mainly, I got most of the bells and whistles that you get on the Pro, but without the extra price tag. And I realize people may say, oh, well, you get upgraded shocks, you get extra protection underneath with the TRD armor, and you get a roof rack. But for me, those were all things that I was going to upgrade and improve anyways. So I figured I might as well save a little bit of money and actually get all the bells and whistles and all the technical kind of components. I get the lockers, I have all of the traction control, I have all of the terrain select, but I just don't have to worry about throwing some parts away, paying an extra $5 grand, 10 grand, depending on the model you choose and how good your deal is, for parts that I was just gonna upgrade through anyways. And then, funny story why she's called Lefty. So when I first bought her, I did a lot of highway driving at the time, and she seemed to pull to the left. I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. And I'd come from a sedan, and I figured, oh, it's a higher profile vehicle. I must be either the crown of the road or having wind that's actually been blowing me around while I'm out driving on the road. And it just, I kept almost talking myself out. I'm like, oh, there's no way that a new vehicle could do this. Like, there's just no way. And then finally, it got to a point where I was like, all right, I gotta actually bring it back to the dealer. They got to take a look at it. So I bring it back to the dealer, and the dealer ends up going through and doing the whole like alignment checks and everything, and they ended up finding that it was actually off and completely pulling to the left. So they fixed it for me, all that stuff, and everything's been fine ever since. But ever since then, I've been able to actually have a cool nickname for my car, calling it Lefty. Speaking of being able to get down this road, or speaking to the types of vehicles that can come down, you'll see in the video, in front of me currently is a Toyota Prius. So you definitely, like I said, can take normal vehicles down this. It's not something that's restricted to only off-road vehicles, or you definitely need a 4x4 for this. You just might have to be a little bit slower with how you're approaching some things, or you have to worry about some of the rocks that might get kicked up. There definitely are a couple of areas where the vehicles can rub bottom, but again, you're not going to cause catastrophic damage by taking your Honda Civic up here. Bottomed out a couple of times there. Hopefully that Prius has the upgraded armor and protection underneath. Those skid plates are come in handy for them on this road. As I had mentioned Moses Hall before, here we are coming up to the remnants of that property, and as I had mentioned, it's privately owned now, so definitely don't come up here and explore and walk around this person's land, but kind of cool to see a house that's been around since the 1800s up here, and one of the last few kind of remnants of the families that used to live up here and call the Sandwich Notch area their home. Too much further up here should actually be the turnoff. Be on our left for the Upper Hall Pond Road, and we'll go swing down through there and check it out, and hopefully the rest of the road clears out so we can keep on exploring. Oh, now we've got a nice little roadblock. Nope, he just bottomed out again. Ugh. Back to a little normal speed. This one's definitely going to be a little tighter if we meet somebody going down this, because it is just a single lane the whole way. Other than for this little area right here, somebody's going to either have to back all the way up or back all the way down. Little bit of washout on the road. Wherever you can, just try to stay out of that. You definitely don't want your tire to get caught into it and pulling you off to the side and causing bigger problems because now you just got pulled down into a ditch or something. And nobody here. All right. Go get out. Stretch the legs a little. Let the dog go get a drink of water and be back in a couple to continue down the road. Bye. Awesome. Back in the car after stretching our legs a little bit, giving the doggo a bathroom break, and we're back on the road. Actually saw somebody came down in a minivan, and you can definitely tell they scraped a little here. You can see they pulled a little out of the middle. Be curious to see if how well they get out of here. Ugh. Especially with that little washed out section there. See if we hear about a broken down minivan in the next couple of days in the news. will actually put us out down onto, I think it's Route 49, but it might be 175. I believe it's 49. That'll take you into Waterville Valley. And now, as we're out of the White Mountain National Forest, you'll start seeing some more houses and camps pop up as we get back into privately owned land. Civilization. A couple of farms up here, some beautiful views. If you can look out over the overlook and over the vistas here. And another 4-runner. On the pavement brings us back to civilization. Thank you for coming on this ride with me. I hope you learned a little bit about both Sandwich Notch Road as well as enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't hesitate to subscribe. Every subscription helps. And if you didn't, then hey, not everything's your cup of tea. But I hope you'd like to come along with me on my next video and on the next exploration out here in New England in the Northwoods. Take care.